Alright guys, this week we are focusing on angles and the classification of those angles, and we are also going to be looking at circles and what are some of the vocabulary needed for circles. So the first thing we're going to do is look at how are angles related, and we could fill in the blank and say that angles can be named many ways based on their characteristics. Now, some of this vocabulary will be review for many of you. This is stuff that you talked about in elementary school and in 6th grade. So an acute angle is less than 90 degrees. An obtuse angle is between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. A right angle is exactly 90 degrees. And a straight angle is exactly 180 degrees. Now, let's look at the bottom part. We're looking at this diagram, and we have a protractor along with angles. And question number 1 says, what is the measure of angle AFC? So this is how we would write angle. So angle AFC, AFC. So notice that with angle A, it's here at 0 degrees. Then we have F, and then this is pointing here at C, and we have two different numbers here. And the way we read this is if we look at this angle, would we say that it is greater than or less than 90 degrees? And since hopefully the answer is greater than 90 degrees, we would choose the larger number, which is 100, and not the smaller number, which is 80. So angle AFC is exactly 100 degrees. What is the measure of CFE? So our focus is this measure here. Notice that we have angle E, or ray E, at 0. So you're going to ask yourself, is this greater than or less than 90 degrees? And since it is less than 90 degrees, it is going to be the 80-degree mark. Now, how are AFC and angle CFE related? So if I look at this angle from A to C and C to E, these form a straight angle, and two angles that form a straight angle are called supplementary angles. So supplementary angles are two angles that add together or have a sum of exactly 180 degrees. The second part of the problem is what is measure of angle BFE? So we have BFC. So we're talking about this measure here. Okay? Now notice neither ray B or ray C starts at our 0 mark. So B, we have, looks like 40 degrees right here. And C, it looks like it is 80 degrees. No, sorry, 100 degrees. Okay, so we need to figure out what is the measure here. Now with this one, we wouldn't just choose the top or the bottom because one of the rays did not start at 0 degrees. So we need to find the difference between these two. So I would do 100 minus 40, which gives me 60 degrees. So I know that angle BFC is 60 degrees. What is the measure of DFE? So DFE. E does start at 0 degrees. So I'm then going to move up to ray D. I would simply ask myself, is this angle more than or less than 90 degrees? Hopefully you would tell me less than. And then I would choose the 30 degree. Okay. What are angles BFC and angle DFE related? So how are they related? Well, if you add these two together, you would get 90 degrees. So we would say that they are complementary. Complementary angles are two angles that add together to give you 90 degrees. These are two vocabulary terms that you need to be familiar with. The two parts at the bottom, two angles are complementary if their sum is 90 degrees. Two angles are supplementary if their sum is 180 degrees. This is very important, these two statements. Now, let's look at the next page. It says, by writing and solving blank, we can determine the missing angle measure of a complementary or supplementary angle, and that is equation, by writing and solving equations. So now let's look at this figure. What I see is that this and this form a straight line. And from our first page, we know that straight lines equal 180 degrees. So that's the first part of my equation. And then I'm going to ask myself, what two angles make this straight line? And it would be angle X plus angle 136 degrees. Now at this point, it's like one-step equations, which we have done over this NTI process. So you would draw your line through your equal sign, find your variable, ask yourself what is being done to your variable. In this case, it's adding 136. You want to do the opposite or inverse operation, which is to subtract 136 from both sides. 136 minus 136 gives you 0. So it leaves you with X is equal to 180 minus 136 is 44 degrees. Now, this means that this measure here is 44 degrees. And if I add 44 plus 136, it's going to give me that 180 degrees that forms this straight line. Okay? We would say that these two are supplementary angles. Number 7. Here, I notice that we have a right angle. I notice that because of this right angle box. Now I have two angles that are making up this right angle. So I know that in my equation is going to have to equal 90 degrees. The two angles that are making up that 90 degrees is angle X plus angle 74 degrees. Again, just like with our one-step equations, you can draw your line, find your variable, ask yourself what's being done to your variable. In this case, it is trying to add 74 degrees. So remember, your goal is to get x by itself. So you want to subtract 74 degrees from both sides. 74 minus 74 gives you 0. It leaves you with x, and 90 minus 74 is 16 degrees. We would say that this measure is 16 degrees. Also, another way that this could say is it may ask you what is the complement of 74, and you would want to think, well, what would I need to add to 74 to get to 90? So that is your complement. Here we have another 90 degree angle, so I know that my equation is going to be equal to 90 degrees. The two angles that are making this up is x and 58 degrees. I draw my line. The 58 is trying to add, so I subtract 58 from both sides. 58's cancel, leaves me with my variable x. 90 minus 58 is 32 degrees. So we would say the complement of 58 is 32 degrees. These are complementary angles because they are two angles that form 90 degrees. Question number 9, hopefully you're noticing that we are dealing with a straight angle now and not a right angle. Notice the two difference. So I know that I'm going to be equal 180 degrees. The two angles that form this is x and 52 degrees. One-step equation. Draw my line. The 52 is trying to add to your variable, so I'm going to subtract 52 degrees from both sides. 52's cancel, leaves you with x, and 180 minus 52 is 128 degrees. Now, this is called the supplement. The supplement of 52 degrees is 128, and the supplement of 128 is 52. All you are dealing with when it's talking about supplement or complement is you're asking yourself, what is the number needed to add to that particular number to get you to 90 degrees if you're talking about complement, or 180 degrees if you're talking about supplement. Question number 10. Question number 10 is two angles are complementary. So when you see that word complementary, you should hopefully be thinking about 90 degrees. One of the angle measures is 15 degrees. What is the measure of the second? Now, it asks us in our instructions to write an equation. So complementary, you need to be thinking about 90 degrees. We have one of the angle measures, which is 15 degrees. And then the other one, we don't know. So we would say that that is your variable x. You have a one-step equation here. So I'm going to solve. Find your variable. Trying to add to your variable. So I'm going to subtract 15 degrees from both sides. 15's cancel. X is equal to 75 degrees. Now, the complement of 75 is 15. and the complement of 15 is 75. And I know that because if I add them together, I would get 90 degrees. Also, it asks us to, let's see, to sketch a picture. So I know that that is 90 degrees. Also, I know that 15 degrees is the smaller. So I'm going to put 15 degrees here and put my variable x there. Okay. Question number 11. Question number 11 says angles ABE and angle DBE are supplementary. Now, when you hear that word supplementary, you need to think of 180 degrees. If the measure of angle ABE is 61 degrees, what is the measure of DBE? Well, I know that it's equal to 180 degrees because of the vocabulary supplementary. I know that one of the angle measures is 61 degrees. And I know that I would have to add what I don't know, which in this case is going to be x. We have a one-step equation. So I'm going to draw my line, find my variable. Here I see that my variable is trying to be added to 61. The inverse of that is to subtract 61 degrees from both sides. 61 cancels. Leaves you with x is equal to 119 degrees. Now, this means that 119 degrees has a supplement of 61 degrees, meaning if I add these two together, I should get 180 degrees. For my sketch, we're talking about supplementary, which is 180 degrees, so it has to be a straight line. Okay, and then I have something that looks like this, and then I can label this 61 degrees and label this x. Now for your summarize for today's lesson, I would want you to say something about complementary angles equaling 90 degrees, supplementary angles equaling 180 degrees. You could also talk about the complement and supplement and what they mean and how you determine each of those. All right, so it's still working under how are angles related. Use the protractor to measure each angle and answer the questions below. Measure of angle AFC. So A starts at 0. Then we have F as our vertex, and vertex is simply when you have rays that meet one another. That's called a vertex. So AFC. So I'm talking about this angle measure here. A starts at 0, runs to F, goes to C. Now if I'm thinking about this, I need to ask myself, is it greater than or less than 90 degrees? Remember, 90 degrees looks like an L. So here this is much greater than 90 degrees. So you need to think, well, I'm going to look at the top numbers. Well, where is it? It's about halfway between 130 and 140. So I'm going to say this is 135 degrees. The next one that I'm going to be dealing with is measure of angle C, F, then your vertex, B. Alright. Now, when you are looking at these two, you see that neither one of them are at 0. So with this one, we could say that it's pretty close to 55 degrees. Right, because it's between 50 and 60. And then C, we've already determined is 135 degrees. So since neither one of these rays was at 0, I simply subtract them. So I would do 135 minus 55. Okay? And that's going to give you 80 degrees. The next thing that you're going to be working on is angle AFD. So from A to F, which again is your vertex, to D. So we're talking about this measure here. Now A started at 0, so we're traveling all the way across your protractor until we come to D. Now is this greater than or less than 90 degrees? Since it is greater than 90 degrees, you're going to focus on the top numbers. It's in between 140 and 150, so I'm going to say 145 is going to be where you need. Measure of angle EFC. So we have E, F, which is your vertex, C, which is here. Now remember, we're talking about from here, this ray, to this ray. So this angle is like this. Now, E starts at 0, and we're going up till we get to this ray. So is this less than or greater than 90 degrees? Hopefully you tell me that it's less than. So we're going to focus our attention on the bottom numbers. So it's in between 40 and 50. So this would be 45 degrees. Now, questions number 5 and question 6. It wants to know which two angles are supplementary. Now remember, supplementary are two angles that add together to give you 180 degrees. And which angles are complementary, which add together to give you 90 degrees. So the first one is AFB. So angle AFB. And so AFB gets me here. So now I have to think of from here all the way to E. So the way to do that would be EFB. So angle EFB. If I add these together, that's going to end up giving me a straight line, which is 180 degrees. The next one could be AFC. So from here to here. So angle AFC. So remember, if I'm all the way to here, my focus is from here to here. So from here to here is CFE. Another one would be AFD. So I'm going from here all the way to here. So angle AFD. And if I'm here, I want from here to here, DFE. Which two angles are complementary? Complementary, again, is 90 degrees. So we're looking for the angles that form a L or add together to give you 90 degrees. So the first set is going to be angle BFC. Now BFC, remember, is 80 degrees. Notice that we've already determined this, but I've written it differently here than was here. However, notice that the middle for the vertex is the same. So angle CFB and angle BFC, they're the same angle. It's just written differently. So what would we need to add to 80 degrees to get to 90? And that would be 10. So we would need CFD. So angle CFD. The other one would be angle AFB. And angle DFE. Okay. At the bottom, you're going to be filling in some information. So we have your angle measure is 32 degrees. What is your classification? Well, it's an acute. Change pencils. It's an acute angle. It's complement. So what would you need to add to 32 to get to 90 degrees? You would add 58 degrees to get to 90. Your supplement, or your supplementary angle, remember, is 180 degrees. What would you need to add to 32 to get to 180? And that's going to be 148 degrees. Alright, 75 degrees. What is going to be your classification for 75 degrees? If your supplement is 75, so what number could we add to 75 to get to 180? And that's 105 degrees. Your classification is obtuse. You're not going to have a complement because you're already above the 90 degree mark. Your next is a right angle, which is 90 degrees. So it's a right angle. You're not going to have a complement because you're already at 90 degrees. Your supplement, what do you need to add to 90 to get to 180? And that'd be another 90. Here, if your complement is 68, so remember, that's going to get you to 90. What number plus 68 gets you to 90? And that's 22 degrees. 22 degrees is an acute. And what do I add to 22 to get to 180? 158 degrees. Guys, if you have any questions over this, please don't hesitate to contact Ms. Banks or myself. I know this is very quick. I know this is a lot of information. So if you need further help or have any questions, please don't hesitate to let Ms. Banks or myself know.